Hi, Kelly.
Hey James,
Welcome.
how you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thank you for jumping on to the Q Sport Hub podcast. How's everything going?
Yeah, going really well. Thanks, James. Yeah, I've had a bit of a cold, so forgive me if I start coughing and spluttering. But yeah, it's on its way out. Hopefully, it was from an exhibition I think I did in America prior to coming over here, and I just when I got back, it was like I've had a week of it. So
I bet flying all the time and stuff doesn't help with that.
well, I know it's like you're going from one airplane to another, and then obviously when that show that I did, I think there was about over 3,000 VNEA amateur players there, and meeting and greeting and playing them and shaking hands and hugs and
Yeah,
you're bound to pick up along the way, and then the aeroplane I think just multiplies it. So yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So whereabouts are you now?
I'm in Taiwan currently, and I'm here. I've just been busy over here quite a lot, setting up a WPA live TV studio.
Hmm.
So it's called that, but to me it's like a practice room. But what the ultimate goal here is to I'm now signed up with WPA Live TV, and what we're going to do is back on the table behind me. I'll take you on a tour around it in a minute, but on the table behind me, we're going to be setting up cameras, the latest camera equipment, and doing like AI cameras as well, and doing different live streaming of practice, tutorials, practice matches, serious matches, things like that, for my channel that'll be launching in a few months on WPA Live TV. So yeah, they've got a few studios around the world. They've one in Malaysia and one in Sydney, I believe, and this is the third one up here in Taiwan, and I'm kind of head fronting that, and looking forward to starting to do some live streaming and getting on social media, as well as the WPA Live TV platform, which is going to be launched. It's already out there, but the subscription base will be launched in a few months. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Fantastic. So where obviously you're saying subscription, is that through their website or is there an app?
Yeah, they're going to have both, and there will be an app coming out before the subscription launches. Right now, it's free to go on there, and they're live streaming all the WPA events around the world. They've got a library of content already, and they've got 2 million, I believe, subscribers right now. So fingers crossed. They're breaking into China as well, and it's going really well. And then there will be a subscription based coming out in a few months, and I can just see it growing and growing. But I'm going to have a channel on that portal, on that platform, should I say, and my own channel. So I'm going to have
Fantastic.
live footage, live streaming, all my old matches, all my new matches, everything will be going through that, and then I'll be putting it after that onto my YouTube channel, etc., etc.
Be plenty of matches
Yeah.
to go and want the championship wins, title wins. You'll crush that.
Well, hopefully there's more new ones to come instead of having to look back in the old folders, But yeah, certainly there should be plenty of content on that. It's been a long career, so we're trying to get together all the footage from over the years. There's some footage, or titles or wins or matches that it was too long ago. They didn't live stream back then, or they didn't even record them back then. But we'll have to skip them ones. But yeah, it's all good. I'm looking forward to what they have in store. The technology side of it for me, I'm completely novice and oblivious to what it entails. But I've got 4Sense technology company on that, and they're dealing with it all. Thank God. If it were left to me, I'm not quite sure what you'd be seeing, but yeah, they're really good. But check it out. It's really, like I say already, it's a bit like a Netflix of pool. That's the plan.
Yeah.
And when that's the plan. So we set up. They and myself set up this, if you like, practice. Like I say, for me, it's like a practice studio, and I've got a few other players involved as well. a few of the Taiwanese players, a couple of the female players, and yeah, we're involved just trying to. Once the camera equipment's set up, there'll be a lot of live streaming going on from in here. So I'll just take you a little look.
Yeah, please do.
Here
Phenomenal.
this is. I don't know how we turn the camera around, but this is my
quick
table, the
fire.
quick fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my table.
Give that a quick plug, Kelly.
Oh, indeed. Don't you worry, I will. So this is my table, yeah, and this is going to be the main streaming table. The camera equipment, the AI, and everything will be set up around this table mainly. We also have here, we've got a diamond table as well. All these have just been installed. And then, as you can see behind that, we've got a Brunswick table, and that is Wazer Chen's sponsor. And she got that sent over from America, and that's been installed. And then here we've got a Chinese hayball table. In the background there is my hayball world championship trophy. just want to point that out. So yeah, so if I took it from once I can turn this around. Oh, 1 minute, no, not like that. Once I can turn this around, I believe, then you can kind of see that from when you come in, there's a kitchen over there and all set up there. But there's the Brunswick, diamond, the hayball table, and over there, the furthest one away. Yeah, and it's, we've got it all set up now. I should have turned all the lights on for you.
I was just looking at that, Kelly. The light above the hairball looks brilliant.
Yeah, and then we've got proper chairs sitting there, and then a sofa area over there. So I've yet to put the light up here for the diamond and for the Brunswick. They're the only two that I've not got the lights on yet. So as you can see, I got it up on that one. And just trying to get you a bit more of a feel if I turn everything on. I should have done that before we started. There we go. So
fantastic.
As you can see, yeah, we've got the lights there. And I've yet to put one up on the diamond and one over the Brunswick. So yeah, it's all good. It's
just
all good.
Table missing, Kelly, and then it would have been
just a snooker table missing, indeed. Right, let me try and turn this back around to me. Okay, there we are. So yeah, so basically the main thing is first of all is the actual main studio table, if you like, the one that will have all the footage on it and all the streaming equipment around it predominantly. And the other ones, basically, it's for us all to practice. I mean, the best players in the world are here in Taiwan. And, as you know, it's one of the hubs for the best players in the world. Obviously, there's many around the world. But so it's a great training facility. And yeah, it'd be good to get some great players coming through here. And hopefully...
Kelly Fisher Academy, is that on the horizon?
Well, no, I've not got the time, but you never know in the future, right? You never know in the future. I've not got the time. I'm traveling all the time. I'm traveling all the time now, and it's impossible. But that would be something, certainly worth thinking about. There's potential that we open more of them around the world as well, of these places, and set them up for different players, or even just for, for different. They've got many ideas coming. So
if you could set one up beside me, that would be ideal.
Well, I know everybody would love one, that's for sure. That's for sure. But no, yeah, WPA Live TV, they're really, just beginning, really. And when they get going, they've got so many ideas that are beyond my technology mindset, put it that way. Speaking of mindset,
yeah, let's talk about why we're here. So, well, I think as most people know, obviously you've been working with Q Sport Hub now for a while, and we're privileged, incredibly grateful to have you on board as an ambassador. And I suppose my first question today would be, what was it that drew you to Q Sport Hub? What was it that appealed, and you thought, actually, I'm interested in this?
Well, to be totally honest with you, it started out where Noel had reached out to me, and the typical stubborn, I don't know, pig-headed, whatever way you want to call it, player in me. It's like, no, no, I'm okay. I'm good. I don't want anybody, messing with my mind, my mindset. I've got it. I've got this, kind of thing. And I've already got my mentor and coach, Lionel Payne, who now is actually working with Q Sports Hub and loving
Yeah,
it, and working with Noel directly and loving it. Can't say
fantastic.
anything but brilliant about Noel and Q Sports Hub. So even he's pushing me to spend more time on it. So I've got two of them now at me. But no, no. So when Noel first reached out, I'm like, no, no, no. I didn't really pay much attention to it, if I'm totally honest. Sent me the link. I had a quick look, and I'm like, all right, great, but it's not for me because it was the hub. I'm thinking, well, it's not personal kind of to me, and I didn't really. I only watched the odd bit, and I left it at that. I conversed back and forth with Noel, kind of like blowing it off a little bit. Anyway, fast forward a little bit longer, I did see the other players that you guys have, some of the British UK players that you guys were starting to work with. And I'm like, oh, interesting. And I saw some good results. And a good friend of mine, Mary Talbot, she'd just started with Noel and Q Sports Hub, and she was raving and raving about it. And I'm like, yeah, Noel reached out to me, but I kind of haven't got the time to be, listening to podcasts and listening to yeah, I've not got the time, just making excuses really. Anyway, it come back that Noel reached out to me again, and I'm like, do you know what? Right, okay, I'm gonna give this a go. So when I started to watch some of the content that's on Q Sports Hub, I'm like, oh, okay, never thought of it like that. Right. Okay. Oh, and it got me like kind of hooked. And I watched this and I watched that. And I thought, right, all right. Well, yeah, I understand that. And I already think like that. There's the various feelings on it, where some of it I already knew, but it was nice to hear it, that it's normal, or it's a good thing, or it's not a good thing, or whatever. It was just kind of a little bit of confirmation of where you're thinking right, or there's no right or wrong, but where it's a good thing, or kind of something that helped me personally. So when Noel reached out and suggested we had a chat, I'm like, okay, that'd be great. And we did. We had a chat. Well, it was like, okay, I feel like I already know that at first. That's the first thing that come into my mind. I feel like I've been playing long enough to kind of, am I already doing that? But the more and more we talked, I could not believe how really I'd kind of just been going through the motions and not really doing anything to improve. When I
Yeah,
think about it, really, just carrying on thinking, it's worked before, it'll work again. But you've got to remember that you're getting older, you're getting more tired, or you're traveling more, or the standards improving. You've got to, it's not, nothing stays the same. So if I were continuing to stay the same, then my results weren't catching up all the time, kind of thing. So anyway, I was struggling with an old bad habit of mine, which is a very fast short stroke, well, jab, let's call it.
hmm,
A bit like Alex Higgins, kind of thing, a bit short
yeah,
and jumpy. And I've struggled with it all my career, on and off, on and off, on and off. Well, it come back at me with a vengeance. And I reached out to Noel, and really that's when we started rolling with this, because that was more to me, like, it wasn't just about preparation for tournaments. It wasn't just about doing the right thing for the mindset for your event. This was like a problem. And the way that he chatted with me, and the way, it wasn't like psychology, it was just a chat like we're having now. But it really, just a few examples, a few things he said, really, I'm like, that just connected with me, and it just rung home to me. And I took on board what he said. And as I went from event to event, or not even the next event, I felt I felt the difference, that I was actually not even having to to think about it, but yet already my yips, or whatever you want to call it, the glitch in my stroke were already diminishing, if you like, or if it, even if it was still there, I weren't thinking about it. So again, very simply, a problem's only a problem when you think it's a problem,
Yeah.
right? So that was the kind of thing, and that would just blew my mind. So from there on, yep, we've been working together, and it were only within a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I think, before I went on and won my next event, or my first event since we'd been chatting. So, you know, I'm not saying that, of course, you can't say, because people will say, well, you could have won, you might have won that anyway. Yeah, I might have, but all I can say is the way I was feeling. And I had 3 events back to back in a month where I were everywhere. My results were the worst ever, 3 back to back events. And that's not normal for me, to feel like that and results be like that. I can have bad results, but feel good, or I can not feel good, but have all right results. This was just a really low part of my career. And I knew my head weren't right, and I knew that my stroke and nothing felt right. Even my presence in the event didn't feel right. So he pulled me out that slump, along with him and Lionel, really. The two, you know, I reached out to both of them equally and pulled me out that slump. And I think that from there, I've just grown and grown. Even if the results don't come, I feel the best I've felt on the table and off the table. That's the honest
Fantastic.
truth. Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. I think it's one thing that I've noticed. I mean, I've been involved with lots of different sports. The thing I find with Q sports is it's quite a unique, it's quite a lonely game, I find, and it can
Mm,
be quite mentally challenging because you're by yourself in a practice room most of the time with your own thoughts, and you know that there isn't the, like other sports where you maybe have a coach to give you instant feedback and all of these different things, and you
mm,
sort of almost getting these habits over years, and you do well, but things have changed as well, don't they? And I think sometimes Pete, you become
yeah.
sort of too inside your own bubble, and you
Mhm.
can get by, but actually, few players are ever really happy with where they are.
That's right.
Um,
Well, no
and
players are happy where they are, because
oh
you're
yeah,
always striving for better. So
yeah,
it's a bit of a mental fight against yourself a lot of the time, you know. I mean, you are on your own a lot. Even like you say, it's not a team sport where you can banter off each other. Even if I'm here practicing and some of the other players, they're my rivals.
well that's
Well,
it.
of
Yeah,
course, if we're talking about the break, we'll talk about the break, and you know, but you know, everybody's kind of keeping their real, you know, ace in their up their sleeve. They're not going to let, all right, I do this, you need to do this, this will help you improve. Not when they're, you know, they're same level as you, and top of the, you know, top level, really. You're not going to tell them everything. Same with my stuff I speak with Noel about, you know. I've raved, and I will rave, as we've got further and further on about Q Sport Hub and Noel, and what it's all about. But I'm not going to tell them what what
no,
really
no,
helped me,
absolutely,
you
yeah,
know. So it's a
absolutely,
very lonely. I say lonely. It is a very not lonely, that's the wrong word, but it's certainly isolating a little bit.
yeah,
So your thoughts, the way you're thinking and the way you're feeling, and your thoughts are very, very important. That changes whether you can pick up your cue, whether you can practice for an hour or 5 hours, whether you can practice well or terrible, whether you can, you know, focus for a second or for an hour or for the 5 hours during that practice. And then you've got the competition mode. You know, there's so much. It's very difficult to remain confident if you're not feeling right or not playing right. You're never happy, because you're always looking for that extra notch to move up to. So yeah, you've got to be mentally strong for sure
yeah.
to really, yeah.
I do think that's a big thing that we knew when we started Q Sport Hub, but I think it's become more apparent is that for a lot of players, they feel that the answer, and this is from the top end as well, is the answer if something's wrong is just to get more hours on the practice table and to do more of the same that they've done for years, and then the results still don't change. They still feel like rubbish, and it's just rinse and repeat and going round and round in
Mhm.
circles. And that's where we sort of say, well, let's have a conversation, maybe just think about things a bit differently, because you're stuck in this rut where you're not happy. And actually, if you
Mhm.
can just sort of find that happiness again and that joy and get back playing, you'll find you haven't become a bad player overnight. You know, you
No.
don't, like Kelly Fisher, you know, doing badly in a few events isn't Kelly Fisher. That you haven't become a bad player after all of these years of winning.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's what else is there? And there's so many different variables. And
That's right.
it's
But the thing is, James, you've got to be, when you do have that bad spell, again, mentally, yeah, you know you haven't become a bad player overnight. But what you do start questioning is A, what's wrong, kind of thing. Have I got a bad, something's wrong. What is it? What is it? And I've got Lionel that can check over my stroke. This, and I knew what it was, but I just didn't know I couldn't get rid of it. And I've got rid of it over the years here and there, but it's something that's crept with me all my career. But anyway, the main thing is that it's very difficult to mentally, like, not think negative when you feel like that, when you're having bad results, when the performance on the table at the tournament, you've practiced hard for it, you feel good, you get to the event and all of a sudden, and then you think, okay, it's just a bad event, and you move to the next one, and you're practicing in between that, then you move to the next one, and you're like, no, 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 this is, in my practice, I feel terrible now, it's getting worse. But you can't help but to think one or two or three things, and that is either there's something wrong, or there's something wrong, how do I fix it? And then the other thing is, what about if now that I'm not as good as I were before? Or for me, another question is, like, am I, the standards got better now? Am I keeping up? I'm not, am I keeping up with everybody now? Um, have I still got any more improvement left in me? Because I'm going to have to, because the standard's just improving. It's just improving. Um, and it's getting, so many more players are getting better and better and better, and they're younger and younger and younger, and I'm getting older and older and older. And it's one of them where you start playing mind games with yourself. That's the biggest thing for me, especially at my age. It's it's I've always been confident, and I still am. I haven't lost it, by the way, and that will help through Noel and Lionel together. But Noel and Q Sports Hub have really got me not thinking like that now. I'm just being honest of where I was at that moment. But you've got your different types of players. I've always been confident. I always knew I could win. I go into every tournament knowing I can win. If not, I'm not going to go. But when that doubt starts creeping, it's like bacteria. It grows and grows and grows, and it's hard to stop. And that's for anybody, So I do understand some other players that they strive to get that mentality of a champion or winner, and they haven't quite got it yet. There's many like that because they're too harsh on themselves, or they lack confidence, or they just haven't mastered or got the experience to have that inner confidence and determination. I'm lucky I've had that, and I have that. I've already, over my career. But when you feel like you might be losing it, that's scary too. And that's where I were at. And like I say, thank God. That was I can tell you exactly when that was. That was from September last year. September, October, November, and it was November when I turned it around, and we got in touch with Noel and Q Sports Hub in October. So
yes,
there you go. Yep. Yep.
it's fantastic.
So
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
absolutely.
It's I think your case, I think, is a really good example, I think, to other people's, and you see that in snooker as well, with Mark Williams, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Higgins, how still, even though that at the back end of the career, they're still outperforming many of the others. And I think
Mhm.
you all have that one thing in common, which I always say to younger players, is what are they doing? Because they're doing things still different to you. And I don't think any of you in that sort of bracket ever stop looking at how you can improve.
Mhm.
You know, you could sort of retire now, you've won everything, but you still want to play. You're still looking for ways now to continue
Yeah.
to get better. And
Yeah.
it's
It's yeah, it's a different grit and determination I feel from the younger ones. I feel that from just observation, and of especially the female, from observation, even though they're practicing like I did when I was their age, and even though they're putting the hard work and discipline in like I did when I was their age, I don't feel they love it as much as I loved it back when I was their age. And the grit and determination, it's like I feel like they're a bit spoiled now compared to I remember, counting up pennies to get to the next event. I remember my parents, just having to sacrifice so much to get me to the next event. And then when I were out on my own, you know, it was like going from event to event and even coming over to America a year on the road, basically, me and Val from one event to another and coming with no money and just starting with $700 between two people and some clothes, and that's basically how we started in America. Never played nine ball before, coming from snooker because there wasn't no money in women's snooker back then, and it's just different situations what I had to go through. I remember to pay the mortgage, I had to win every final of the women's snooker, otherwise I couldn't make my mortgage payments. And couldn't pay the bills. There weren't sponsorship like there is today. There weren't prize money like there is today. So it's just, I think all that, it's like you're playing for your lifeline, you're playing for your life, basically. And a lot of them have not had to go through that, which is fantastic. I'm not saying I would want anybody but it certainly give me quite a lot of or what's the word, grit or fire in my belly or whatever way you want to want to describe it.
It separates people, doesn't it? I think
Mm.
because a lot of people would give up at that point.
Yeah, yeah,
Then
even when,
that's
yeah,
and I think
I
that's the
mean,
difference, isn't it?
it's true. And I mean, even when I remember I had to have, in 2014, I had to have open heart surgery for a hole in my heart, right? Which I was born with. It was genetic. And I went through that surgery and I was back on the table. They told me to have, I forget, 3 months off, and I was back on the table in 2 months. And I went to a tournament and I won it. It was just a 4-man tournament, winner take all, champion of champions, it was called, in America. And I flew to America from the UK, and I shouldn't have been really doing any of that. And yeah, and I remember I went to China after that for the World Championships, and I didn't do well. I really was too quick coming out of the recovery. But I remember that many of the Chinese players who, I mean, Chen Min, she's, one of the best there's ever been. And she's like, what are you doing? She said, I would just, that would it. I would never play again if I had to go through open heart surgery. I said, why not? I couldn't understand her thinking. I said, why not? What's wrong? And it was just a different mentality, and yeah, just that's where I'm going. I think it's just a different mentality, different grit. And as well, the British, we're a bit different. We're a different breed a little bit as well, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm honest, we are.
In
So I
in
think
what way? In
I
terms of
don't
that?
really know. Well, if we've got, yeah, like a fire in our belly, if you just pay attention and look across um, I can only compare the pool players mainly because in my later career I've been surrounded by them. But if I look at um, the American pool players, the European players, the Asian players, we've all got and then the British, I keep them alone. They've all got a different kind of way when they win, for example, or when they lose, to show their emotion. You can see when they win, you can see when they lose. How the Asians are very, just like the guy who's just won the World Championship snooker. They don't show very much. They're very quiet, very calm, And then you can see the Americans give it a good one, but you see the British that look at Darren Appleton, Jason Shaw, the fire that you can see. They'll jump on the table, they'll do whatever. It's just a little bit of a different fire. I can only say like fire in the belly. I don't know how to else
Yeah.
describe it. We are a little bit, and I can only do that by paying attention. I think, especially in the the women are all very, the Asians are very elegant, you know, and some of the younger ones are very elegant and they win, and it's like that. I don't know. I just want to kind of like shake them, come on, kind of thing, you know, get a little bit of, I don't
I,
know, bit
I,
of
I,
fat.
I
Yeah,
hate that. I hate it
yeah,
when somebody when they're celebrating. You see it all over with snooker, don't you? And it'll be all over social media and everybody. I can't
mm,
believe they celebrate. You think, what is wrong with that? Like, yeah, and
I know.
sometimes it can be a little bit disrespectful if you're doing an opponent's face. But if you've won a game, I mean, come on, especially a big
Yeah,
game, there's a lot of pressure
yeah,
and a lot riding.
yeah.
And I think like every other sport does. I think it's unnatural to not do it. You know,
I
you would
know.
expect
Yeah,
somebody if they've won, say a world championship or a big tournament to celebrate it. You see it in every other
that's
sport.
right.
Like, just
That's
imagine
right.
watching
So
football and a player scores and they just stood there every time and didn't celebrate. You know, what would the fans
exactly.
do?
Yeah.
What would the fans do? The fans would just sit and stop celebrating.
That's
And
right.
then,
And it would be a total, that's why it's a totally, you know, a bit more, it'd be so much more boring. But the
mm,
thing is as well, I being a woman, I think, and also for me, I want to let it out a little bit more than I do, if I'm honest. But because I've come from the snooker background, which is more reserved, that I've kind of, you know, I've kind of let it balanced it a wee bit. But yeah, if I'm totally honest, if some of the times I could actually just start jumping around, you know, doing cartwheels around. But I mean, we have to, from the snooker side of it, it was very much more reserved. But when I first come to America, it was the opposite. You had the characters, the great players back then, like Jeanette Lee, Vivian Viriel. The Jeanette Lee's the Black Widow, and Vivian is the Tornado, and Jeanette would be like talking to the crowd and come on. And when she made a nine, woohoo, you know. And you've got Vivian who's going around the table like a whirlwind with her hands like this, come on, the world, you know, Texas Tornado. Sorry, Texas Tornado. And she's like, woo, woo. And I'm like, where am I? This is nuts. But when I, you know, because I come from snooker, and now it's like, do you know what? I miss that, because now the new generation, everybody's just sitting there and nodding, and that's fine. Um, but I miss them characters. I miss that energy, and that, you know, it just gives it a little bit more entertainment as well,
yeah,
really, especially for the
100%,
yeah,
hundred
yeah.
percent.
So that's missing nowadays. That's missing
I'm
nowadays, I
not a
must
fan
say.
of suppressing like emotion like that. And I think
No,
I have
no.
a feeling. I think a lot of younger players maybe now are told to be like that and
I
called
agree. I mean,
opposed to being
Darren
an
App,
reaction.
that's right. I mean, Darren Appleton was the first to jump on a table, and now a lot of the men have copied. I don't do that. I won't get up in one go. So no, I'm joking. But no, a lot of the men have copied, and that's kind of a thing now that everybody does. But I think he was the first to jump on a table, and you know, it's the women. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that from the women, and even some of the guys, especially the Asians, they're very suppressed, I would say, and maybe they don't feel suppressed. Maybe it's just their culture, whatever. I can't, no disrespect for anybody now they choose to do it, but yeah, I just kind of like that, to see that emotion come out, the pressure, and we all know, I know, and you know, the pressure under when you're winning, sinking that black for the game, or that 9 ball for the game, or whatever it may be, 10 ball. Yeah, it's a lot, and I mean, it's got to come out somewhere.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think snooker can be a little bit different because it can be a bit delayed, can't it? You know, when I was watching
Mm,
like Wu Yissa and he potted frame ball, and you think, well, he's technically still not won that because you know Murphy's going to come back for snookers, so he's going to have to
yeah.
put another couple of balls. So like
Mm,
it sort of delays it marginally. Where with 9 ball, you sort of you put the last ball, you know you've won that, and I think
mhm,
it's unnatural
that's right.
to suppress that, and it's
Yeah,
especially when you've worked all your life for it and the emotion that you put in. That's what you do
that's
it
right.
for. That's part of the enjoyment, isn't it? You know, winning, losing,
Yeah,
coming
that's right.
back. It's that's what it's all about.
And
It's
even
good.
the missed shots, you know, even the missed shots. I mean, that's something I've been working with Noel on, because, and it might be suppression, really, because, you know, I feel like I started to get a little bit more angry than I used to about not playing well or missing shots or making an error. And we've been working on that recently, rather, not controlling the anger, but just working on and how not to become angry. Why be angry, kind of thing. So we're working on that right now, because I do think that it's like maybe it's a suppression of when I've messed
Yeah.
up, and maybe I want to scream out, but you can't, kind of thing. So I mean, it's been like 35 years of suppressing that anger coming
Yeah.
out now, maybe. But no, I'm only joking. But we're working on that. So there's a lot of mindset variables in different mindsets, should I say, of the game, different parts of the game, different parts of life, just like anything. You've got your positive side, you've got when you're feeling negative, positive, the in between. There's so much scope, if you like, to work on. And it's one thing, we're only just touching the iceberg as well. And I feel
Yeah.
so much of Noel's help, and we're only just touching the tip of the iceberg at the moment.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think a lot of it as well is, I mean, we always say mindset, and it is, and I suppose it always forms it. But when I sometimes describe it, I always say mindset and performance, because a
Me
lot,
too. Me
yeah, a
too.
lot, a
Yeah.
lot of the things around it, because I think people can be confused thinking it's all just mindset and psychology,
Mm.
but it's actually not. It's performance related, and it's a thing.
It is. That's right. It's not even psychology in a sense, because that's what I was thinking it was.
Yeah,
And people get scared of that. This is not. I couldn't believe it. It's not psychology in a sense. I suppose it leads to it, but you lead to that psychology part in your own way. So Noel basically, we just talk, and it's just like, well, it kind of, one thing I found amazing from my perspective is that he just asked a number of questions to me, like, and the way I didn't know, I just answered them honestly, as you do. And somehow I felt like I'd known him forever by the end of that. Like, he was talking to me on my wavelength, not in any kind of psychologist way, in any kind of how to say it, mental. It wasn't anything like that. He was just talking, and some of the stuff, he says, what about if we look at it like this? What do you think about that? And we're just talking. And I found that really, really sunk in for me. It really, I was relaxed. I could take in what he was saying. And I just found that it really, like I said, it was the way to help me tremendously. And it was that way is what I needed, rather than any kind of psychologist, that's for sure.
yeah, and I think that it's brilliant. I think it's testament to you and to Noel, really, because you've you've got to obviously want to put the work in. You've got to be open to that as well, which is something we
Yeah.
always say to the players. There's some players who you look at and think they're probably never going to be open to say work with
Mm.
Q Sport or to
Oh,
work with Noel,
100%.
because
100%.
they're too closed off, and you've got to be prepared. And unfortunately, it's everything we've spoken about there, which is phenomenal about your career and your desire. And even now, some people can't do that. They
Mm.
might say that they
Yeah.
want to do all these things, and it's like me and Noel always say is, what are you prepared to do to win? And every player will
Yeah.
say, well, I'm prepared to do everything. But that you give them
Mm.
something, there's always a pushback, or they'll do it half-hearted, or they'll not do it at all, or they'll find a shortcut. And straight away you find out the ones who will do everything and the ones who won't. And the ones who
Yeah.
will do everything or try everything, they're the ones who always rise to the top eventually.
That's right.
And I think
That's
that's
right.
the difference. You've got to be open as a player, and you find that, I think, in any sport at the top end, that players never stop trying to find ways to get better or to improve the situation.
That's right.
And I think, in particular in Q Sport, like I said, what we find is a lot of players, they're not bad players. They've not become bad players. There might be certain struggles, like you're saying about potentially the yips, or a certain part of Q action, but that's not the root of the problem as such, because it's
Hmm.
then breeds inside, isn't it? It's then the frustration
Yeah.
and the anger that can then come, because you know you can
Hmm.
do this, you've done it, So why can't I do it now? And then
That's
that
right.
manifests over time, and then it becomes a bigger problem. And then sometimes you find with players in those situations, they actually do end up with a bigger problem because they try
Oh yeah.
changing cue actions and changing tips,
Yeah.
and changing cues to bigger, bigger tips and smaller tip size. And then,
Yeah. 100%.
or it's like, I don't know what day of the week it is, because it's like,
Well, it's
what's,
escalated, yeah, into a
yeah,
point where you don't know what was right to begin with.
yeah,
There's one thing what I was so pleased with was because, like I said, from the age of 12, I was very fortunate to have my parents right behind me all the way. But at the age of 12, I met Lionel, my coach, and there's another story to that we'll talk about another day. But it was so ironic how we met, but how it all happened. And he's been my coach for now, what is 36 years coming up.
phenomenal.
So to he's always been like not just a coach. We're like family, first of all. Secondly to that, he is my mentor. We speak every single tournament. We speak every week anyway, but we speak every day at tournaments. And it's more like he watches my matches and just keeps me positive, really. You played well that match, or a couple of bad shots there, but right, come on, tomorrow, whatever. So to get Lionel, how to say it, I knew what I took away from Q Sports Hub and Noel, but to get Lionel and to get him feeling even more or as much, well, let's not say more, but as much, if not a bit more, because he was so excited, than out of it than I even. And I mean, he was like, oh, it still is now. It still is now. And everything that Noel, and him talked about is like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And I'm like, well, I said, relax, me and Noel have got out there and we were laughing. But no, it just shows you, to have his kind of approval, if you like. If you imagine for 36 years, now I've not got my dad, not had for a long time. I'm not saying Lionel's like a father figure, he's more like a brother, but um, is in with me from the beginning. So to have him feeling that this was something fantastic really confirmed and gave me such a better feeling, even though I already knew it was. And now between us, we can go over, and he's asking me, your nutrition, how's your nutrition this tournament? Have you had this? Have you had that? And, how's your hydration? And we're talking about different things that being part of Q Sports Hub,
That's phenomenal.
certainly, yeah. So that's a massive thing for me, and it's certainly it's already helped him tremendously. Now, obviously, as we know from that last September, come November, I my God, I won the World Championships hay ball. I went on and won WPBA event. I got to a final of the Predator Pro Billiard Series, and this year, even though I've not won an event yet, or have I got to a final, maybe not yet, but we've only played a handful, and I feel great. So I know, that I'm not worried about anything. I'm just playing, and it'll come. The results will come, and I feel great.
And that's I suppose a great way to come to sort of come to the end is what you've just said there, because you're not going to win everything. You're
No,
never going to win everything, and that's not what we try and profess here either at Q Sport Hub.
no,
Because
100%.
you think of all the players who go to an event, only one can win, and there's lots of different
Just gonna
circles.
say, I was just gonna say that,
Yeah,
over my career, I've won a lot, but I've lost a hell of a lot.
yeah, exactly.
you
Yeah,
know, and my dad, believe it or not, he was a British champion amateur. It was a British amateur champion boxer, and he also was a wrestler when he was young. And
brilliant.
he always taught me a few things. You win your fights in the gym, in other words, practice, right? And nobody remembers second best, right? That's a good one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the other one, what was it now? The other one, what did you just say before, James?
About
Oh
only
yeah,
one.
about losing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
only
yeah.
one winner. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You need to learn how to lose before
Yeah.
you've any chance of learning how to win.
Yeah.
If you'll never, you can't win unless you've learned how to lose. So that was the few things that words of wisdom from me being very young. So it's true. I mean, if you see people up crying or upset or smashing something, whatever, when they lose, you know, they either change that over time, or if they don't, then they're really never going to get onto that winning podium often, that's for sure. So
Yeah. Well, that was one of my football coaches for years. He would always say something similar. And I remember at the time I was only younger, and it stuck with me for years. And he would always say, you can always tell people's personality from when they're getting beat.
yeah,
And I was like, what? At first I was like, what's he on about? And then I quickly realized, and he was like, you can't ever really judge someone when they're winning. You can judge somebody though by how they respond and react when they're getting beat, and really
yeah,
see who they are as a person, as a character, how they react, how they behave. And it's so true. It's so
yeah.
true. And I think it's if you've got that where you can find a way to process defeats, because in Q sport, let's be honest, you're losing the vast majority of the time.
Of course,
You
of
turn
course,
up to
you've got
players turning up.
you're only one player.
Yeah.
That's right. You're only one player in a 64, 228 player field.
There's so many different variables, and that's the one
Mm-hmm.
thing that sort of Noah would always say to me, and I've heard him say to many players, is if you attach your happiness to winning, then you're permanently going to be unhappy, really, because you're not going to be winning all the time. So
That's right.
if you were say, well, I'm only really going to be happy if I've won, it's a dangerous game to play. And I think that
Yeah.
was testament to the work you've done with Noah. And you're saying, yeah, I've not won this year, but I'm happy with where I'm at, because
I'm okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. Of course, I want to win. Of course, I go in a tournament. I don't really think about the eventual result, winning. I don't think about that. Take one match at a time. La la la. But of course, I'm going there to win. I'm a competitor, and I want to. Of course, I want to lift the title. But my main thing has always been, if I'm honest, for many, many, many years now, is as long as I feel good, as long as I feel I'm playing good and I feel good on the table, then I can handle the the defeat. Even if I'm not feeling good on the table, I can handle the defeat, because there's been many times over 36 years that I've had that too. So it all depends, it's learning that as well. But the worst part for me is when I'm not feeling right on the table. And getting beat. And that's where Noel stepped in, and it really, Q Sports Hub, and that really helped me even step up a level when them two worst things, not feeling good and getting, not winning, come together. You've got a couple of ways you can go, and certainly by joining with Q Sports Hub and working with Noel, it's certainly pointing me in the right direction.
Fantastic. And I suppose to end it, for anybody in the United States, any pool player around, what would be your advice to anybody who hasn't tried Q Sport Hub yet?
Get on it, have a go. At the end of the day, you've nothing to lose, and in my opinion, only everything to gain. Try it. If it's not for you, fair enough, but you will not know unless you try it. And I kind of thought the same, but it really surprised me, and it's something that's really worked and working well for me. And now it's quite normal and natural, some of the things that I'm incorporating into my game, or not game, but into my routine, if you like, that has really helped my performance overall, not only at competitions, but I'm talking about in day-to-day practice, everything really, just simple things that you just don't even think about. So go and take a look. You'll be surprised, and you'll the platform that we have on there, you can listen anytime, sat in your car, driving, whatever. So check it out, and I'm sure you'll be back, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And
All
thank
right.
you for your time. And I've thoroughly enjoyed that. And I'm incredibly jealous of that practice room.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it too, James, and thank you for having me on, and we'll do it again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Take care and enjoy your practice, Kelly.
Cheers, James. All right. Thank you. Say hi to Noel and Q Sports Hub. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.